Welcome to the Growth Show
with Keshelle and
Dr. Glen. We're here, y'all.
Good to have you back. I am so excited because this is our third episode of the Growth Show, and we have a lot that we want to talk about, right? Right.
I
I
have a
can call you
lot to
Dr.
say.
Davis or just
You
Glenn.
could just Glen. Glen is fine.
One of the things that came out in the previous episodes were, who we talk to and just not who are we talking to, but the process of growth. And when I look at growth, and there's a method that I've used for a long time, and that's the start and stop method. When we look at where we want to grow, how we want to grow, the questions are natural. What do we want to stop in order to grow? And then, of course, what do we want to start in order to grow? And so we want this episode to be about that. What are some things we have had to stop as we grew as lovebirds? Of course, we're talking to lovebirds today.
For now.
For now. The legacy leaders, the lifelong learners, we ready for you as well. But, when we talk about what things we needed to stop in order to continue to grow in our relationship, we have some thoughts. I want you to share what you felt we needed to stop first.
So one of the things for us, we needed to stop comparing our relationship with others. And that was difficult because if you grow up in a home where you see a specific model, a lot of the times you tend to model the behaviors that you would have seen in the home. And early in our marriage, one of the things that we talk about is creating our own model. Because what worked for your parents might not work for you. What worked for my parents might not work for me. And what I saw as a model elsewhere might not work for us. And so that was critical for us to and it was difficult because you could imagine being in a home where you have both parents in the home, both are working adults, so you get to see some things. In my home, both parents were there, but my mom did not work. My dad stopped her from working. And so the tendency was to feel like, okay, I'm the man and I have to do everything. I have to take control over everything because that's what I saw him do.
And so what were some of the things that you had to unlearn coming into our relationship that you had to say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to base your expectations off someone else's model, or even but not even someone else's model, but someone else may have been saying to you.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things that I had to get out my head and get out my mind that I'm the man, so I had to pay all the bills.
Good thing you had a woman like me then.
No, I am the man, so I had to pay all the bills. And the Holy Spirit is something else, because remember when I left the bank to go to UV,
Yes,
I had a significant salary cut. And I remember days I had to actually ask you for lunch money and gas money.
Yeah, I remember those days. And I was also not that type of woman who expected you to pay all of the bills.
You said that up front, but it was me. It had nothing to do with you. It was my socialization, my upbringing, and I wanted to bring that to the table. I'm the man. I'm going to pay all the bills. I'm going to do all this. But truthfully, I couldn't pay all the bills because I was not in a financial position to pay all the bills. So I needed my team player, my helpmate, to help me to pay the bills.
Yeah. Anything else? What are the expectations?
And
that I guess society expects as we tend to compare our relationship.
And a real life situation, I remember talking to one of my brothers about it, and he was like, my wife and I split the bill down the middle. These are two professionals, 6-figure earning people, and they split the bills down the middle. And you say, gee, you need to let Keshelle split the bill down the middle. It's working, and it's something that worked easy for us. And I thought about it, and I said, now that worked for you, but that's not our model. We have a model that we'd already created for us. And I said, that's working. I don't have a problem with it.
Right.
And so I didn't ascribe to what he was saying, and he meant well, but my model was working very fine for us. Yeah.
And so stop comparing your relationship to others is really looking at what have you been told or what have you seen that you are still doing
Yes.
just because someone else expects it, someone else told it to you, etc. You know, I know for us too, one of the big things was, you know, women had to cook and clean and all of that stuff.
How did you do with that? Tell them about the first meal that you cooked for me.
No, we ain't going there. No, we're not going there. But
all the salt from Salt Pond was in that meal.
The point of the matter is, that wasn't a home that, and I was afraid of at first before I even got to know you getting married, because that was the expectation of marriage, that, you know, a woman woman's supposed to cook and clean and
do all the stuff.
And
what
you know,
else is supposed to do?
And if you heard the story from last episode, I had a child at a young age, and so in my mind, I was one of the reasons why I was saying that I wasn't ready for marriage, because I was like, I done taking care of a child. I ain't about to take care of no man, no big man, right?
Crusty man. That's what you say.
And I'm glad that we didn't, and I'm grateful for you, because we didn't fall into that mold as well, because Sissy ain't doing that. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm not doing it, but I was just not my natural
and at the time, it was not your natural thing, but I've seen the growth and the progression over the years. Like, now you cook for me. Whatever it is that I want, you would cook it. And that's not something that was forced upon you. You did it over time. You did it when you were comfortable. I always ate. You know, even if I had to eat from Checkers, if I had to eat from, I'm going to eat because you're going to provide the food, but you just was not going in the kitchen. And I'm like, this worked for us. I mean, we spent a little bit more, but it worked for us. And so there was no pressure for you to feel as if you need to be all domesticated and in the kitchen and cooking.
And I'm so grateful for that. I am grateful that I could accept that that's just not my natural thing. And I would quickly pay for food to come. I would quickly pay for someone to come and clean and wash, because, and I'm accepting that it's not.
Oh, you spend some money on food now.
It's not something that I do. So that's number one. You know, stop comparing our marriage, our relationship to what society thinks or what people think. Point number two is what? Stop basing your relationship
just on love alone. You know, everything is just centered around love. And I think I got this concept from Dr. Miles, God rest his soul. And at first it took me aback. I'm like, but that's the purpose of us getting married. We're in love and, you know, we all gushy and mushy. We still on the honeymoon phases. We still 9-10 years in and we still honeymoon. And so this is about love and compassion and all that stuff. But then he said something. He said, no, base the relationship on knowledge. And once you get knowledge, because love is going to be there.
And then there's times when love is not going to be there. Because there are many days I didn't feel loving towards you.
You couldn't stand me, right?
And you go in that corner, let me stay in my corner.
You take left and I take right. We still love each other, but we just ain't
I'm feeling the
gelling
love
right now. We ain't feeling the love. However, we have knowledge about in times like those when you're not feeling the love, what does it take to keep the relationship moving forward?
And the knowledge, at least the knowledge that we got, was important for those times when we didn't feel love. Because it was that mindset of, okay, this is normal. The fact that you're not going to feel love towards your partner is a normal part of the process. And we have to go through those pains. And the fact that love is an action word. We tend to think that that's a passive word. That's an action word. So sometimes when we're not feeling love, there's something perhaps that we could do that will generate that feeling of love again. And so, you know, we have invested tremendously in the knowledge. As growth-minded people, plenty books, plenty seminars, plenty...
Some of which I resisted arrest because I didn't want to go. But in the long run, it was still beneficial. When I looked at it, it was like, you know what, this particular conference or this particular resource helped us to propel our relationship to another level. And so even though I was resistant at first, when I actually take part, I see that was something that benefited the relationship.
What do you think, though, about relationships or lovebirds where one part of the equation, one person wants to invest in the knowledge, or they understand the whole concept of relationship cannot solely be built on love, but the other person is not interested, or maybe even saying that they're interested. Their words are saying it, but their actions are not. What do you say to them?
And it's interesting that you say that because I'm dealing with a situation now with a married couple. One want to go to counseling and the next one doesn't want to go.
Normal.
And keeps saying that he wants to go, but actually doesn't make the effort. And so sometimes you may just have to find out what the person want to do instead. Because sometimes it could just be your idea. And if the person didn't buy into it, tell me what can you do to move us forward? Or what do you want us to do? What can I get from you? And you used to do that a lot, where you would say, what can I do? Or what do you need from me?
Yeah.
And so it gives me an opportunity to voice what I probably wasn't saying because I was too caught up in myself or too caught up in my feelings.
And then what if one partner is growth oriented and the next partner is not growth oriented?
Houston, we have a problem. We have a problem because it's going to take two people to make the relationship work. But sometimes you have to allow people to grow at their pace. And I think one of the mistakes that we make is that we want people to grow when we are growing.
True.
So you're all the way up there and you expect me to be up there with you and I'm not there. I'm not feeling it. And so when you come in all hype up and you want us to do this and I'm not there, you're offended now because here it is. You have all these grand ideas to move us forward, but I'm not buying into it.
And I think what's also important is not only growing at your pace, but growing, you have to be okay with the way someone wants to go. I remember there was a workshop that I wanted you to attend. And me, I can sign you up for a workshop. Before I even asked you, I can sign you up. But I also knew that was not the way to get you to go.
Yeah.
And so I remember there was some type of compromise where you said, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to this workshop, but I'm only going to be here this time. I could be here all day. Like me, I could go to a workshop from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
And the quickest way to get me not to go is sign me up against my will.
See? Well, I didn't sign you up. I didn't tell you I signed you up. But I now needed to come to you. I couldn't tell you I signed you up. I had to come to you and say,
So again, that's knowledge right there. Because if you would come to me and say, I signed you up for this workshop, the answer would have been no. So you would have lost your investment.
Yeah, no, I didn't sign you up. I couldn't tell you I signed you up. I had to say, babes, this workshop is coming up. And, I would really love you to go. And I had to be okay with you saying no, or you...
Yeah, you had to work me for...
I had to work you. And we came to a compromise where, okay, you know what, I'm not going to be here all day.
Because you would always say, I would say no first before I say yes. So you'd have to work
I'd
me.
accept that. Yeah.
Work me
and so, for persons who may feel as if their other significant other is not growth oriented, it could not be that. It may be something, just the approach.
Yes, could be the approach, because if a person feels as if you are telling them what to do, and they have this thing that's going around about feeling emasculated and all that stuff. It all depends on the knowledge of what you know and how to communicate with the person.
Yeah.
Just like you said just now, you knew if you had said to me, I sign you up, I wasn't going. All right, so you use a different strategy and we come to a compromise. And so it was able to work out.
Yeah. To be patient with someone else's growth.
Yes, patience is really, really a key thing in terms of, because we don't all grow at the same pace and we don't all grow using the same methods. Yeah, and so it's important and that's where the discussion come in, the dialogue.
And I think that leads to the final point that we wanted to share today. When we think of what could we or should we stop doing, or what we've had to stop doing.
Oh yeah.
And that's personally attacking
each
other.
We had our share of that. Mortal Kombat. And while it wasn't physical, it was verbal and it was still messy. And we were sweetly saved, y'all. I still get cussed out.
Man, you don't have to say that.
Okay.
You don't have to say
all right. I ain't saying it no more. No, that ain't cutting. No, but the point that I was trying to make, and I want to keep it real, the point I was trying to make that when I say Mortal Kombat, while it wasn't physical Mortal Kombat, it was verbal Mortal Kombat. And it wasn't just constructive talking like how we talking now. It was heated. My wife would say loud discussions. It was beyond loud discussions.
Yeah.
It was disrespectful. you know, on different levels. And so we went there with it.
Yeah.
And what we found out that it didn't work. It didn't get the
It didn't
situation
work.
better, and it
we
didn't move us
grow.
forward.
We didn't grow.
No.
It it just allowed us to get mad.
Yeah. Created distance.
Created distance, absolutely.
And then pride.
And then pride. Your
And then
pride, not my pride.
Okay, my pride, your stubbornness. And nobody wants to move forward, and nobody wants to take wrong, nobody wants to own. And then eventually, when you recognize that this isn't working, this isn't moving us forward, we're not growing, we cannot move, then we have to come back.
Then we had to come back.
Humble down. You had to pipe down like 10 notches. I had to pipe down
Really?
2. And then we were able to move forward.
You know, it's so interesting. I think it lends to the point too that personally attacking each other can be done in so many different ways, right? So you're generally the one who loses your cool faster than I do. And then, of course, when you lose your cool, I can be like, won't you get mad? So I get mad. And so it's that recognition.
And how do I behave when I lose my cool?
I know, tell me.
No, you tell me. You just finished saying. You just finished saying I lose my cool. How do I behave?
You raise your voice. You do raise your voice. And it goes back to this point that we had to learn that. Stop attacking each other. And attacking each other could very well mean just shouting. Because I would always say, you don't have to shout.
Okay.
You don't have to shout. And it's how you say something. And so that was it. And then, of course,
no stick a spin right there. Now, how do you react when you lose your control? No. That's a point I want to bring across.
See, for me, when I get to a point where I am angry, there's only 2 extremes. There's the cussing, right? Let's be real. Okay.
And the raising of the voice.
And then there's the crying. And generally I cry because if I don't cry.
So you either cuss or cry.
Yeah. If I don't cry.
Somebody getting cussed out.
And I accept that that's my 2 extremes.
And my extreme is I either raise my voice or I go quiet.
Yes.
Where there's no communication, there's no conversation.
Yeah.
And either way, it's toxic and it doesn't advance the relationship.
It doesn't work. And so that's the work that we had to do to grow. And we still don't have it perfect, but we've come a long way. We know when things are getting heated now, we kind of just pause and then we come back and we can now talk about it. But, you know, when we look at growth from a relationship standpoint, and again, this is not just a relationship show. We're going to talk about the other audiences in future episodes. But it's important for us to recognize that in order to grow, there's certain things that we must stop doing.
Yes, for sure.
And of course, start doing, which, you know, come back and watch the next episode, you will hear that.
Yes, for sure. So if it's one thing that you would want to say to your audience before we end this session, based on what we would have said, what is that thing that you would want to leave in the hearing of your audience?
Have that self-awareness. Have that time when you look, hopefully after hearing us and us being very real, be real with yourself and understand, ask yourself, all your relationship, what are some things we need to stop? Right? Use this opportunity to reflect. And the change may not happen overnight. It's going to take a journey, and you know, but growth is like that. Growth is not a straight line. Growth is up. You might end up back down. You may end up in a pothole, and then you climb out of that pothole, and you now go back up again. And that's what growth is, and that's why the Growth Show is important, because we are here to show you, or at least put a light on the fact that growth is necessary, and once you have that growth-oriented mindset, you can achieve what you want to achieve. What about you?
For me, I would say it's a team effort. It's a team effort. And so when you're thinking of growth, one person cannot, because what's going to happen if you're the only one growing?
I'll outgrow you.
You'll outgrow me. And if I'm the only one growing, I'll outgrow you. But if we're growing together, we don't have to be growing at the same pace.
Same way.
And that's what I want you to get. We don't have to be growing at the same pace or in the same way, but you have to be growing in order for you to get to another level.
And maneuver the challenges of life. life will bring its challenges, but if we are growth oriented, we can overcome them.
Yeah. And just remember, love alone will not do it. There are people who still love each other but still divorced and separated. All right, so we need to know, get the knowledge of what each person require, how we can move forward. And once you have that knowledge, eventually you'll see the path going forward. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode where we will talk about what you should start doing or what we started doing in order for us to
And go.
and go.